Thank you for reminding us.
That's fine. No, before we start, where are you? You are in Kalimantan Timur, is it? And which university and which city are you all based in?
Okay, well, actually, Meli is from University of Nahdlatul Ulama Kalimantan Timur, and
Hmm.
I currently moved to Surabaya in East Java because I moved to teach in other university in East Java, but I still have responsibility to assist Meli until she finish her final undergraduate thesis.
Yeah.
So we are in different location actually.
Uh-huh. And in Kalimantan Timur, which city, Meli? Which city is your university?
She's in Samarinda.
Oh, in Samarinda. Okay.
Hmm.
No, we have a project going on in Samarinda at the
Oh,
moment.
nice.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. Okay, to answer your question on the whole issue of justice. So for us, justice covers three things, you know. One is equity, fair share. That means those providing climate finance
Hmm.
to those most vulnerable communities and countries who have contributed the least to the problem and who are suffering the worst impacts of climate change. So, for instance, the small island states, the Pacific Islands, they're facing an existential threat, though they are one of the smallest contributors of greenhouse gas emissions,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
which causes climate change. So, equity is one,
Hmm.
fairness and equity. Then another one is inclusivity, getting
Inclusivity
a
and
seat at the
equity.
table, being consulted for decisions, policy decisions which are made. So having a seat at the table and having fair representation of the table. So what we also call stakeholder engagement. What happens is sometimes the stakeholder engagement or consultation is very superficial.
Hmm.
The decision is already made, and then they may call CSOs, and then
Yeah, I know, yeah.
have a session, nothing is going to change. You know,
Yeah.
you can give all your very good inputs, nothing is going to change. So it needs to be inclusive. That means even from the conceptual level, you're involving all the different stakeholders. And also about stakeholder engagement, it's not like you have your office in the Kabupaten and then you send an invitation for people to come to the office, to the room in your building and then whoever can make it. No, but then some people got no time, like women, informal workers, they're too busy to come to you. So you also have to make the effort to go to them. So that is meaningful stakeholder engagement. You go to where they are, talk to them at their convenient time. For them, it may be best to talk during the day or after work. So you go and talk to them. And then the third aspect is what we call uh, restorative justice or reparations. That means those who have
Pardon?
suffered
Pardon?
res- restorative justice. I'll write it in the
Restorative
chat.
justice. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is those who have suffered. You compensate them. So this is restorative justice or reparations for harm done. That means, like, for instance, the indigenous peoples in Malaysia, we call orang asli. I think in Indonesia, we call it masyarakat adat, is it? Yeah. So the indigenous
Yes,
people,
it is masyarakat adat. Yeah.
yeah. So you put large scale solar on their land, and then you ask them to leave the land. Maybe in the past, you build a dam, a big hydroelectric dam, you move them out, and then they've lost their land, so you must compensate them reparations. This is also linked to the advisory opinion for I don't know whether you're familiar, the International Court of Justice on 23rd of July gave an advisory opinion on the responsibilities of the state to protect against climate change. And one aspect of it is they say for those who have been affected, you must give reparations, which is part of restorative justice. Okay. So these are the different elements of justice. You can also talk about intergenerational justice,
Yeah,
where we have a responsibility for providing the planet
for the
in
next
as good as
generation.
possible state for our future generations as they are currently, not
Yeah.
make it worse. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Niti. And so it's all about the equity, inclusivity, and the restorative justice. That is a very um, interesting tackle line that Chan also upholds so far.
Mm.
And let me share a story like this. I feel like we as a developing countries, we are citizens of Indonesia, and Indonesia also considered as developing countries. In my personal opinion, and based on the article that I read, we don't pollute so much compared to those in a global north, such as United States of America and European countries. But at the end, when we have to sign the such agreement like Kyoto Protocol or Paris Agreement, we have sort of a same burden to mitigate the climate change. I mean, those global south countries already pollute at the first time. They are the greater polluter compared to us. But then the responsibility to fix all of these problems suddenly have to be the same according to this global agreement. What do you think about this phenomena and how do you see this?
Yeah. Actually, it's when you look at the origins of the Convention on Climate Change, it is actually the developed and rich countries which have to take the most action. So it's not equal burden sharing. So under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Paris Agreement, it is everyone has a responsibility to act on climate change, yet it is the developed countries which have to take the lead and provide finance to developing countries like Indonesia, provide climate finance, provide technology transfer, provide capacity building to developing countries so that we can decarbonize. We don't need to go through the same mistakes the rich developed countries where they use more than the fair share of the carbon budget. They advanced, they became industrialized countries. We don't need to do that. And then once we become a polluter, then we try to change. We can bypass, we can decarbonize, automatically. For that, you need money. So in the Paris Agreement, in the convention, it's very clear that the rich countries have to take the first step. Even with the Kyoto Protocol, it's only for Annex 1 countries, the rich and developed countries, which have to take action and at that time to reduce their emissions by 5% by 2020 levels by 2005. Developed countries were not obliged to reduce the emissions. I mean, it's only for the developed countries. So that's also the Kyoto Protocol. So Indonesia didn't have to do anything under the Kyoto Protocol. What's happened now in the Paris Agreement, it's now a bottom up where, they have this thing called the nationally determined contributions, where every country has to raise the climate ambition. Every country has to submit a nationally determined contribution, which all countries in the world have to submit in September this year. They call it NDC 3.0. And there it's what can every country do? Yet for most developing countries, they say, okay, we're going to reduce our carbon emissions by, say, 40% by 2035. provided we get funding from the developed countries. So there is equity written into the convention as well as the Paris Agreement.
So do you think nowadays we already move in the right paths for tackling climate change? I mean, all of those agreement already how do we say it? Already being on track like that in
No.
terms of justice.
Yeah, no, we are moving very slowly. So having said earlier, while the developed countries, the rich countries have to take the lead, developing countries also, we all also have to play our part.
Mm,
So the important thing is we have to phase out fossil fuels. So we are very far behind because you may know that in the Paris Agreement, there is a target to reduce temperature rise by 1.5 degrees.
mm.
We are already at that threshold. So if we're going to keep temperature rise to 1.5 degrees, we have to take some very drastic steps. At the moment, under different scenarios, we are easily going to sail past 1.5 degrees. We're going to sail past 2 degrees if we don't change. So, if you really want to bring temperature rise down, you have to stop production of fossil fuels, drilling for oil, gas, and coal.
And that's a very difficult issue for Indonesia as fossil fuels are cheap sourced. But yeah, I mean, like in one hand, we do really like to uh, do something to mitigate this issue, this climate change, this the rise of the temperature and so on and so forth. But then, at the other hand, we are facing a very serious problem related to the existence of the source. What can change fossil fuels for us in a very, not in a very, in a relatively cheap way or in relatively yeah, cheap way because fossil fuels are cheap and we are developing countries and we are just like crawling slowly in economic state. Uh, there is economic growth that we have to chase. So how to balance these sides, What do you think about that?
Well, the first thing is I have to disagree with you that fossil fuels is cheap
Hmm.
because renewable energy, especially solar and wind, are cheaper,
Mm.
even cheaper than using oil, gas, and coal because the sun and the wind are free.
Yeah, but then that needs a political will from government to
Correct.
provide that resource so that a sustainable resource can be accessed freely and cheaper. The
Yeah.
problem is there is no I don't know, maybe I'm not sure our government lack of interest in providing us with sustainable source like solar panel or something that can replace the use of fossils.
Yeah. So, yes, it's a matter of political
Yeah,
will because perusahaan listrik negara
yeah,
PLN
right,
di
right.
Indonesia,
You know a lot, I think.
I've seen their figures on what is the cost per kilowatt hour of electricity generated by coal, and what is the cost of electricity per kilowatt hour generated by floating solar.
Mm.
This is PLN's own figures. It
Oh,
costs two-thirds. It's so much cheaper to generate electricity from offshore, sorry, from floating solar. That's when you put solar panels on a lake or a river or a reservoir. So the question is, why aren't they using more solar? So it comes back to political will
yeah.
because they want, because Indonesia is a major producer of coal
Coal. Yeah.
and major exporter of coal. So they want to sustain the coal business. At the same time, we are CAN Southeast Asia. Okay. My organization is on two projects in East Kalimantan and South
Oh,
Sumatra, working on this. Because in Kalimantan Timur, 60% of the income for
from
the
coal.
provincial government coming up from coal.
Yeah, from coal. Right.
So for the last 3 years, we are working on how to shift
Mm-hmm.
the dependence
That's
from
tough.
coal to renewable energy. So
Mm.
we've been talking for the last 3 years, talking to the communities
Do you talk with the
in
local
Kata
government
Kutai
of
Negara.
East Kalimantan?
Pardon?
The representative of
Yeah,
Chad ever
yeah.
discussed this matter to the
Oh,
local
with hundreds of
government?
students,
Oh,
hundreds of students in
local
Mulayarwan
government?
University,
Yes, well,
Mulawarman University, in Pasir, is it
and what is the
Kuta Katai
response?
Negara?
Yeah, how is the response of local government? Do they involve in this project?
Directly involved. The national
Oh,
government also directly involved.
hmm,
So my Can C member, Yayasan Mitra Hijau, is on the ground working in Kalimantan Timur as well as Sumatra Selatan on
hmm,
the same thing because Sumatra Selatan is also highly dependent on coal income.
yeah,
So we are working with the communities. So because we want to have just transition
yes.
so that they are not affected. If you cannot say, okay, to close the coal mine tomorrow, you have to prepare.
It's
Then what
not
about the
possible.
people working inside the coal
Yeah,
mine? What
yeah.
about all the communities? They're
Hmm.
providing catering, they're
Yeah, 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 yeah.
providing, like, they have the shops, they're selling products.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
we have to tell them, work with them. What are the alternatives? What kind
Mm,
of income do you want to go into? And you know what they say in South Sumatra, they say they want to go into coffee production.
mm,
And in East Kalimantan, they say they want to do chocolate production. So
mm,
we are also giving them the training and making the business links to help them to go into the new business. So they don't have to depend on the coal infrastructure.
mm. Yeah, I think there are a lot of works that our government needs to do to make this just transition happen. It might be slow, but we have, I think I do agree with you that we have to go with it. I mean, we cannot rely for the coal if we want to, mitigate this climate change. But we also have to be realistic that we cannot just simply close all the business and there is no alternative for the workers or the people who already have income from this area without giving other alternative. And that's nice hearing from you about this just transition. Um, I'm quite interested also with the slogan of "It's time for the global north to pay more." Uh, could you please give us a concrete explanation or concrete examples about the tagline of "It's time for the global north to pay more"?
Yeah,
For example, like the funding or yeah.
yeah. So this is a very scientific argument that
Mm,
the global north has to pay more. So in a way, we have this campaign, pay up. I have a lanyard, pay up for climate finance,
mm,
for the developed countries. Because if you want to keep temperature rise to 1.5 degrees, we have something called the carbon budget.
Mm.
So it's how much carbon that is left that you can utilize so that you cannot exceed the carbon budget if you want to keep temperature rise between 1.5 degrees. What has happened is that since pre-industrial levels, the developed countries have used more than their fair share of the carbon budget,
Mm.
leaving very little space for developing countries
Mm.
to develop.
Yeah.
So, based on how much carbon budget you have used, that means if I say developed countries, your allocation is 40% of the
Mm.
carbon budget is yours. You cannot exceed 40%. They've already used, say, 80%. I'm just giving some very rough ideas just to explain to you. They've used 80%. So they've done 40% more than the allocation. So then you have to compensate for the extra 40% you have used. It's just like you go to a bank and you're only entitled to borrow 40, so say 40 million rupiah. You have used 80 million rupiah. So the question is pay back the 40 million rupiah. So this is the concept. So so when we calculate how much they have used of the carbon budget, the developed rich countries have to pay developing countries, and this is written in a scientific study, 5 trillion US dollars a year until 2050.
5 trillion
5 trillion. That means what? 500
US
juta.
dollar
500
for developing countries. That so these 5 trillion
developed,
dollars
yeah,
will
developed
be
countries have to give the money for developing countries.
okay. And uh, uh, how is the sharing mechanism from those $5 trillion?
That is for developing countries also to look at, to study. It is meant for all developing countries. Of course, then you can prioritize
Mm.
which are the most vulnerable countries, which are the countries suffering the most, which are the countries making, and not all developing countries are the same, right? You have Saudi Arabia, you have Qatar, you have Singapore. You have some countries which are very rich. Singapore is a developed country. And then you also have some countries like in the Pacific Islands, some countries in Africa, which are struggling. So they need to get more help. So we can work all that. The first thing is the money has to flow. So this also comes back to your question number one. What are the main roles that can place in climate change mitigation efforts at the global level? So we are very active at the global level conference of parties, COP, of the Climate Change Convention. We go for it every year. This year is in November. So last year, the focus was on climate finance. And the whole idea was to push developed countries to give at least 1.3 trillion US dollars a year, not five, 1.3. We didn't get that, or they just said they will give $300 billion by 2035. And it's also important that this money, you have to be very clear, this money must come as grants from public finance. It is not commercial loans. It is not debt instruments. It's grants. That means you give and you're not expecting any money in return. At the moment when they calculate like even commercial loans are climate finance, no. It's when you talk about climate finance, it's money which is given as grants
Not
and
as a
not
loan.
expectation any, yeah, grants, not loans.
Okay, so clearly the money that should be given to the developing countries are grant, not loan, and there is no something to return, such as that. Okay.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And do the developed countries eager to do this kind of funding project?
Definitely not. So now,
Definitely not. So yeah,
so
how you respond to the resistance of developed countries to this idea?
yeah, so this is the question I'm going to ask the lady from Germany on Wednesday at my forum, this forum, the one behind on my backdrop. So I'm going to ask her because it's a big stumbling block now. Every time you talk about money, they say cannot. So how? So we have to still put pressure on the developing countries through the COP, through other mechanisms. And one of the means is to get like civil society organizations in these countries to pressure the government, like members of CAN in US, in EU, in Australia, in Canada, pressure your government to allocate more money for developing countries, make them more aware. So that's one of the ways. I mean, we will always put pressure at the COP, at the G20 meeting, at the G7, at the United Nations General Assembly. We will continue to put the pressure there. Ultimately, it's the pressure inside the countries which are the most important. So the civil society organizations who support this aspect must pressure their governments to allocate more money for developing countries.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Because the other thing is also because when you talk about climate change, and I see also in your question, um, yeah, you talk about adaptation, one of your questions.
Mhm.
The You
Yeah,
see,
it's
what happens is,
number 7.
number 7.
Yes.
What happens is whenever they talk about climate change, they only look at mitigation.
Mm,
So, as I was telling you, mitigation, people can say that, okay, I'm going to help you build a solar power plant.
mm,
And then you're going to use solar. You don't
mm,
have to use oil anymore. In fact, I
yeah,
just came back from Cambodia,
mm,
where they have installed a solar plant for pumping water for paddy farmers and uh, for irrigation.
mm,
They don't have to use diesel anymore
mm,
because, like I said, the sun is free,
yeah,
except at night, of course. That
yeah.
one, sometimes you can use battery storage. Of course,
Mm,
it's more complicated, more expensive. During the day, you don't need to use any electricity from coming from fossil fuels. So you save money.
mm,
So with mitigation projects, they can say like, okay, I give you 100,000, you're saving 30,000 every year in your fuel costs. So you can use the 30,000 to pay back the loan for me to build a solar plant. With adaptation and loss and damage, what is already destroyed, you don't have any way to pay back.
mm,
If there is like Banjir earthquake or something in say Sulawesi, you cannot build your house back and pay money. If your house is wiped out by the floods or drought, your farmer, all the crops are gone. That's called adaptation. Is you try to prevent the impacts of climate change. So if you're a farmer, you build a wall or whatever. Or if your house is gone, you have to build a house. There's no paying back. So you need to get grants.
mm,
So that's the important thing because many a time they say mitigation, we give money, we
mm,
can give you a loan, you save money, you pay back the loan.
mm,
Adaptation and loss damage, there's no paying back.
mm, mm,
Everything, there's no way of earning the income back. So it has to be in the form of grants.
mm. Okay. What is the biggest challenge beside the funding project and beside giving pressure to the developed countries to to be accept this idea? What are the other challenge you think
Yeah.
being the bottleneck of this movement?
So it's also to get developing countries to get onto a path of decarbonization with just transition. So that means for especially the countries which are producing oil, gas, and coal in Southeast Asia, it's Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, Thailand, that to reduce the dependency on oil, gas, and coal, and to transition to renewable energies with energy efficiency and energy conservation. So we cannot say that, oh, the industrialized countries develop first, we now have to develop, and then we think about, no, we start now. And we also have to start phasing out oil and gas production. So Southeast Asia has 11 countries, including Timor-Leste. Of there, including Timor-Leste and the four countries I mentioned, are all they need to start planning to phase out. Already happening East Kalimantan, South Sumatra, they're saying that by 2040, we want to stop the dependence on coal. So the developing countries have to come up with the economic diversification plan. And they have to stop oil and gas production, phase out, phase down, not immediately over the next 10 or 20 years. So they need to cut down and they need to transition to, they need systems change. So they need help for systems change where they have their economies are not dependent on carbon, decarbonized economies.
So far, how the government responds to this idea? I mean, the government in Indonesia, maybe because you have already talked with some of them. What do you think about their response and the way they try to realize this just transition? What do you think?
Generally, it's very slow,
Mm.
especially in the oil and gas producing countries, the coal, oil, and gas producing countries. Whereas I just came back from Cambodia last week. They don't produce oil and gas, and they are very keen. They are
Mm.
fully supportive. They say we want to be fossil free. And they say that we want to change everything to electric vehicles. We want to decarbonize our economy. So they say we don't, because it'll save us money from the import of oil, coal, and gas. So the motivation is very high.
Yeah.
So if they can set the systems up for renewable energy, they're going to save a lot of money. So they are very ambitious.
Yeah, because they don't sell fossil oils and so on and so forth. But it will be different case when we talk about Indonesia as the producer of coal. Yeah,
Oil
so
and gas
yeah,
also oil,
gas,
you have
coal, oil,
Pertamina.
and gas,
Yeah.
yeah, Pertamina, and it will be lost a lot of political constraint, I think, to make this happen. Yeah, so it's kind of.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, these two projects in East Kalimantan and South Sumatra are supported by the federal government, your national government.
Mm,
So your national government also knows that we need to start phasing down on coal production, coal-fired power plants.
mm.
Though, and I don't know, you're familiar with Indonesia's doing the Just Energy Transition Partnership, JETP project. So that's going on at the moment, which is to, by 2040, Indonesia is no longer dependent on coal.
Oh,
So the plan is already there. Whether it is achieved,
the
we
blueprint
all
is
have to
already there.
help.
Yeah.
We have to work with the government to help them.
Mm.
At the moment, because also it's also political, right?
Yes.
Sometimes, like, the political party who's in government.
True. And also, the coal companies in Indonesia are the biggest supporter of the political parties here. So usually the elected representatives, the elected government, whether it will be in the parliament or in the executive body, they are supported by the coal company. So it will be quite challenging to, yeah, to make this good idea happen. Maybe it can be implement, but slow, just like you said. Yeah, it's a lot of works because a lot of political constraint. A very different case to the Cambodia. If we compare to Cambodia, it will be much smoother, I think. Yeah. but it's different in Indonesia.
Not only
Um,
smoother, they are very excited at the
hmm?
opportunity. We want to go 100% fossil free.
Yeah, but that's
Money.
yeah, okay, but
Yeah, it's money on both sides and
yeah.
politics. Yeah.
Money, yeah, it will be go both side in politics, but yeah, we know today the biggest funder in the political party are the coal company. Okay,
What are you teaching, Anissa? What is your area?
I'm in international relations.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a part of a political science as well.
Mm. So you're Dr. Anissa, is it?
No. I'm master degree. Yeah. In here, we don't need doctor. Master degree is enough, but still have to encourage another degree. Let me jump to another question, I think. Meli, do you have any other question? Kamu punya pertanyaan yang mau ditambahkan? Atau ibu saja dulu ya? Saya dulu aja ya. Oke.
Oh, oh.
Um, okay. How would you overcome the resistance in international forums? I guess you face many resistance in the in the international dialogue or international forum. How you try to keep pursuing these people to agree to our idea?
So the important thing is that even though Climate Action Network, ialah satu jaringan yang paling besar,
Hmm.
2,000 member organizations in more than 130 countries, we do not work alone.
Hmm.
So we collaborate dengan siapa?
Other
With
NGOs.
international, no, not only NGOs, with
Oh,
the trade union,
trade
International Trade
union.
Union Confederation, the Indigenous Peoples Constituency, the Women and Children Constituency. Uh, so uh, the so there's so many constituencies, under the United Nations. So we collaborate, climate justice constituency. So we all collaborate together
Hmm.
and we put pressure. So if it's one person talking, they can ignore you. Yet collectively, we represent hundreds of millions of people. So that brings a lot of pressure. And then on top of that, also, we organize campaigns, and on key moments, days of action, we go onto the streets. Some countries it's easier, some countries not so easy. And on those days, we stand with placards, signboards on the streets, demand climate justice, pay up for climate finance. We do the same inside the COP as well.
Hmm.
We put pressure on the negotiators. And of course, the other thing is also lobbying. We go, we talk to people individually. You find that even in developed countries, there's some people on our side
Yeah.
who are trying to be helpful, who are listening to us. So we go, we talk with them, and we try and convince them.
Hmm.
Especially our members like European Union, Can Europe. So they talk with the European Union. We have United States Climate Action Network. We have Can Canada. Can UK, they go and talk with their negotiators and tell you, you got to do more, you got to help, you got to do something. So those are all the different ways we engage directly, we engage collectively, we do direct action. Yeah, all this to bring pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of works to do to give pressure, yeah, from lobbying, campaign, and so on and so forth. I think I go to the 11th question. The most urgent system change to build equitable global climate governance for the global south.
Yeah. So this is a very good question because there is no climate change without systems change.
Mm,
We cannot function in the existing model and then expect that something different is going to happen.
yeah.
If you keep on producing oil and gas, climate change is not going to improve. If you keep on using the same dependent on all the high carbon systems like ownership, private vehicle ownership, and building roads, and it's not going to make any difference. So you really need systems change. So one way of systems change is taking a different approach. You have to maybe take up the approach of degrowth. So instead, because all our prime ministers and presidents, every time they say, oh, we want to increase GDP.
Mm.
The moment you increase GDP, climate change is going to increase.
Yeah.
So you got to have like, we got to lower our GDP, we got to grow less,
Yeah,
yet
yeah, yeah, yeah.
provide the same quality of
That's
life, quality
the
of living to our
yeah.
people.
Mm-hmm.
So just because GDP is increasing doesn't mean everyone is
Well,
benefiting
everybody's
from it.
welfare. Yeah, yeah. I agree with you.
Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, some people benefit
Very
more.
wealthy,
The
but the
very wealthy, the
others,
corporations,
yeah.
all the big organizations, they are getting millions and billions.
Yeah, I
The
do agree.
people not feeling. So this is just benefit. This is growth for some.
Yeah, growth for some
Yeah.
little
So you
people.
need you need distributive justice,
Yes.
degrowth, bring the growth down, and share the wealth with
Mm.
everyone.
Do Chan also concerned with the distribution of social justice? I mean, like you talk about the GDP. The GDP doesn't represent all of the share.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
Chan also concerned in this area?
Yeah. So there is something called the United Nations Tax Convention, which is based on tax the billionaires. So this is a way for redistributing wealth. And
Tax
there's
the
also
billionaire.
tax the billionaires.
Hmm.
Make the super rich pay their fair share of income tax. So it's redistribution. So there's also something called the global solidarity tariffs. So like highly polluting industries, like the airline industry, the marine industry, the cement, the aluminum, the steel. You put tariffs on those industries to for them to become more efficient and to lower the amount of carbon emissions.
Hmm.
So so you put a levy, so you charge them some money. But the thing is, the moment, yeah, so to change to make the systems more efficient. So
Hmm.
sometimes they say like all the ships are very old, the technology is very modern technology brings the emissions down. So change the ships, those kind of things. So you make it give them a penalty, and then you collect that money and you help them to change.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, sir. I'm going to move to next question. The strategy to mobilize civil society networks, because it's a very huge network, I think. How Chan can cooperate with those small NGOs and then a trade federation and so on and so forth, and how do they make such a great link that can coordinate and cooperate together?
We're doing this all the time. Like for instance, within CAN, every year we have our annual strategy meeting. So this is where we discuss climate change, we discuss global mobilization, we discuss working together. So we have like annual meeting, and then we meet at the COP, we meet at the intersessional meeting in June. So we are constantly working, we are constantly mobilizing civil society networks.
Is there any
And
representative from Indonesia in?
oh, well, because yeah, sometimes
Mm.
because I represent Southeast Asia, because
Oh.
we have 2,000 member organizations, not everyone can come. So yeah, sometimes we like when we had the annual strategy meeting in Bali, we had like 6 or 7 people from Indonesian organizations.
Mm.
Jamtani, Yayasan Mitra Hijau,
Oh, wow.
Yagasu, yeah, MTM. So many climate reality Indonesia, they were all there. So yeah. So sometimes there are a lot, sometimes not so many.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but that's a good information because I think Indonesia kind of left behind from this information. But glad to know that there are some
Actually,
organizations.
they're not, there are many Indonesian organizations, like for instance, Indonesia Center for Environmental Law,
Mm.
Institute for Essential Services Reform, Walhi.
While
They're
he.
all very active in the global front, Oil Change International. So they're quite active globally also. They're very active in the international space.
Mhm.
And Indonesia is very popular because it's the biggest country in Southeast Asia. So
Mhm.
there's so many projects also going into Indonesia
Mhm.
because Indonesia, I think they want to address the coal issue. So
Mhm.
Indonesia also gets a lot of funding,
Mhm.
and the organizations are all very active.
Mhm. Okay, last but not least question. What are the main impacts on global South countries if global North countries' financial obligations are not met on time?
Well, the countries will continue to suffer more from the impacts of climate change. Like for instance, now you see, and it's going to, like you see now at the moment, there's huge floods going on in Pakistan, there's huge floods going on in India, there's fires going on in some countries. So they're going to suffer more. And what's going to happen is, like, for instance, Pakistan, the last floods, they had to take commercial loans to pay for all the repair,
Yeah, yeah,
which means they're going into debt.
yeah.
So they're going to become more indebted. They're going to take more loans. They're going to become owe more money, which means they have to take money from social services, which go to the people for healthcare, for education,
Mhm.
for people's benefits. All that money is going to come out and be cut down. So this is what's going to happen, and all these countries are going to be pushed into more and more debt and
Mhm.
hardship.
Okay, thank you, sir. Maybe for the question already answered, but I am interested to know more about the program you have said before with Indonesia. Maybe if you have information, you can share to me through WhatsApp or anything. I will be glad to catch up with the latest information from the chant. I think it
Mm.
will enrich our research as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe more relevant to Meli because the Yayasan Mitra Hijau team, they're going to East Kalimantan
Oh,
regularly. And so they are, like I said, they're engaging. I think they've also gone to NU University.
berarti yang Yayasan Mitra Hijau kemarin emang berarti sudah terkonfirm ada Mel. Itu udah terkonfirm ada, tapi nanti kita tinggal cari eh, tambahin aja jadi subbab tersendiri gitu untuk si Yayasan Mitra Hijau ini pembahasannya gitu.
Yep.
Actually, in her research at the first time, she also talked about Yayasan Mitra Hijau. But
Oh,
because we haven't sure yet whether Yayasan Mitra Hijau have connecting link with Chand, we omit the Yayasan Mitra Hijau.
oh.
But now we decide to put it back in our research because it's already confirmed that Yayasan Mitra Hijau also part of the chant movement.
Actually, it's can, not Chan.
Can, or
Can,
chant. Oh,
can,
sorry, can. How to
can,
pronounce it?
yeah.
Can.
In
Okay.
fact, I was
Um,
initially when your inquiry came, I thought whether to refer Melly to uh, Pak Diki Hindato, who's with Yayasan Mitra Hijau. Then I thought, okay, I will speak to Melly or speak with you.
uh,
They are very active and they've spoken to I think like 500 youth in East Kalimantan as part of the
mm,
project to get the youth views and all that.
Pak
So,
Budi,
uh, Diki Hindato,
Diki
Diki
Hindarto.
Edwin Hindato.
Dicatat ya, Mel. Diki Hindarto.
Yeah,
Diki
he's
Hindarto from
the
Yayasan Mitra Hijau.
Yayasan. He's the chairman of the board.
Oh, chairman of the board.
Mm.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Nitine Sadura, and thank you for your kind information and also the chance for me to join the next event in 3rd September, if I'm not mistaken. I have already
Oh
registered.
yeah. Ah.
Yeah, the Just Transition Forum Asia
Mm.
2025.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it will be enrich the research of Meli as well. And yeah, thank you so much. We are glad to have you here and you contribute so much in enriching our research and give enlightenment for something that we have already, something that we haven't know yet. Thank you, Mr. Niti. Thank you for the time. I think cukup ya Mel ya.
Ya,
I think enough for us. If we have another question, I will try to approach you through WhatsApp, I think.
Sure, you're welcome. Happy to help.
Mr. Niti, if you have a time, maybe we can have more academic discussion in my university here in East Java. Maybe I can try to approach my department coordinator because we are also uh, working in the project with civil society organization, NGO, and yeah, many more to talk about the climate change mitigation. I hope.
Yeah, no, sure. I mean, I before because we were doing a project in Indonesia on just energy transition partnership. Every month I'm in Jakarta 2, 3 times.
Oh,
In fact, in September also I'm supposed to be in Indonesia. I'm not sure whether South Sumatra, East Kalimantan, or Jakarta. If
mm,
I'm coming, I'll let you know. Happy to engage.
okay.
Because usually, even last time when I went to Jakarta, I gave a talk to BINUS
Pinus. Oh,
universities.
wow, Pinus
Yeah,
University.
for 400 students,
Wow.
together with Ibu Amanda Niode with the Climate
Mm.
Reality Project. So yeah, I'll let you know if I'm coming. I'll be happy to engage with students. And
Yeah.
I've been to Indonesia like 15 times. I've never been to Surabaya.
Mm. It is my first time also in Surabaya because I moved here. Before I was in Samarinda in East Kalimantan. Okay, thank you, Mr. Niti. I guess it's time for you to have your next
Call.
chores maybe. Yeah.
Actually, I have a call. Someone wants to call me at 12 o'clock in 5 minutes.
Oh, okay, 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 okay. Thank you.
And then, yeah, and then it'll be lunch. And hopefully
Oh, yeah, okay.
I just
Thank
went
you so much.
cycling this morning. I cycle and sometimes on the weekends I go cycling for 1 hour
Wow, so healthy.
exercise. Yeah, just to keep fit. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
thank
Bye-bye.
you, sir.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you,
All
Mr.
the best, Meli, for your
Sadurai.
thesis.
Thank you so much.
You're
Good luck with
welcome.
this project. Good luck with whatever you do to uphold these ideas. And we are going to help you from the academician side.
Very good. Excellent. All right.
Okay.
Okay,
Bye.
goodbye.
Goodbye. Oke, Mel.
Ibu.
Paham nggak intinya?
Saya sudah mencatat sedikit. Saya juga ada kayak merekord pembicaraannya tadi. Dan mungkin saya mau translate sedikit-sedikit dulu, Ibu, untuk memahami apa yang diobrolkan tadi.
Ya, kalau secara keseluruhan yang ditangkap Meli apa?
Beliau mendukung untuk transisi energi fosil ke misalnya ke angin. Sorry Bu, maksudnya transisi energi lah intinya Bu.
Ya, tapi kamu harus bisa memilih mana yang sangat substansial untuk riset kamu. Yang sangat
Oke Bu.
substansial itu adalah bagian tentang distributive justice-nya dia. Nah, distributive justice yang dimaksud oleh Kan ini, Chan atau Kan tadi bilangnya? Ken ya, si oleh Ken ini adalah gagasan untuk mendorong negara-negara maju atau Global North itu membayar kepada Global South. Yang tadi dia bilang hitungannya adalah sekitar 5 triliun dolar. 5 triliun dolar yang akan didistribusikan ke negara-negara berkembang. Dan itu sudah ada hitungannya. Hitungan atas kerugian yang didampakkan, yang diberikan oleh Global North. Sehingga itu harus dibayarkan ke negara-negara berkembang atau Global South. Jadi, agenda kerja utama mereka adalah satu, mendorong negara-negara Global North untuk bisa membayarkan ini ke negara berkembang. Kenapa? Karena negara berkembang itu akhirnya mendapati banyak kerugian, suffer dari dampak climate perubahan iklim ini gitu loh. Itu. Jadi itulah yang di gagasan utama yang dibawa. Kemudian baru gagasan yang selanjutnya adalah transisi energi. Nah, itu boleh dibahas, tapi bobotnya tidak boleh melebihi
Ini sama ya.
yang pertama. Karena fokus kita adalah di global justice. Kemudian agenda yang ketiga, dia juga menyoroti tentang distribusi ekonomi. Dia bilang bahwa GDP yang tinggi atau GDP itu kalau dalam bahasa Indonesia itu PDB ya. Tingkat pertumbuhan ekonomi yang tinggi itu tidak selalu merepresentasikan kesejahteraan secara merata. Sehingga daripada pemerintah itu alih-alih ambisinya cuma meninggikan economic growth-nya aja, kenapa tidak memeratakan kesejahteraan supaya lebih equal gitu. Jadi ada tiga nih dia fokusnya. Satu, menyuruh Global North to pay dengan hitungan scientific. Sudah ada hitungannya, hitungannya sudah ditawarkan oleh mereka. Hitungan ini berdasarkan kerugian yang dihasilkan oleh Global North selama mereka menjadi poluter. Kedua, transisi energi. Ketiga, tadi ekonomi tadi karena kaitannya ketika mendorong pertumbuhan ekonomi semakin tinggi apa namanya ya konsekuensi logisnya adalah ya produksi karbonnya itu akan semakin tinggi juga karena akan semakin banyak aktivitas industrialisasi untuk mendorong pertumbuhan ekonomi yang tinggi ini. Nah, padahal menurut dia bisa dengan cara dekarbonisasi ekonomi dan ditulis ya, dekarbonisasi ekonomi dan membuat kesejahteraan lebih merata. Jadi bukan sekedar tinggi pertumbuhan ekonominya tapi ketimpangannya juga tinggi, tapi lebih baik ya pertumbuhan ekonominya dijaga, yang penting stabil, tapi kesejahteraan yang di bawah itu bisa lebih merata. Nah, itu adalah gagasannya. Nah, bagaimana cara bekerjanya untuk supaya gagasan itu bisa diinternalisasikan, supaya bisa diimplementasikan? Ya, dia join di acara UN Climate Change. Dia punya perwakilan-perwakilan untuk dikirim ke sana. Dia melakukan lobby, melakukan kampanye, dia berjejaring sampai punya jaringan yang luas gitu ya. Dan jaringan yang luas itu terus memberikan tekanan-tekanan politis terhadap pemerintah negara maju supaya mau bayar ke negara berkembang. Nah, inilah nanti yang diolah dalam skripsi kamu gitu. Dan kemarin masukan Pak Yusnan, kamu juga belum membahas tentang Global North dan Global South. Kamu harus punya nih di bab 2 nih, kamu udah menjelaskan nih Global North itu negara apa-apa saja. Bagaimana mereka berkontribusi dalam polusi ya dalam menjadikan dunia ini semakin panas. Nah, kan mereka kan udah duluan ini jadi negara industrialisasinya. Itu kamu jelaskan. Terus Global South yang terdampak karena akhirnya mereka mereka nggak ikut jadi negara industrialisasi duluan, tapi mereka akhirnya ikut ngerasain panasnya, tambah panasnya bumi, ngerasain banjir karena gletsernya mencair gitu ya. Itu kan semua karena climate change gitu. Nah, itu kamu jelasin di situ. Itu harus ada ceritanya. Lalu nanti kamu tambahkan analisa kamu terkait informasi yang sudah didapatkan. Ini nanti ada rekamannya, rekamannya akan saya
Saya
kasihkan ke
juga merekam, Bu.
Oh ya, oke. Nah, nanti kamu jangan lama-lama ya, Mel, karena
Ya, Bu.
semakin lama semakin susah selesainya. Ini udah untung udah dapat banyak informasi. Terus ada beberapa event yang Bapaknya tawarkan untuk kita bisa hadir
Ya,
secara online. Nanti saya yang akan hadir. Kalau Meli mau hadir juga boleh. Nanti saya kasih linknya. Tapi semuanya in English. Jadinya Meli harus well prepare sendiri gitu ya untuk bisa keep up. Tapi nanti kalau nggak bisa, nanti saya bantu kasih summarize gitu ya rangkuman. Yang itu akan menambah apa? Menambah bahan untuk penelitiannya si Meli gitu.
ya, Bu.
Ya, intinya langkah pertama yang harus Meli lakukan adalah kemarin tuh bikin gambaran dulu tentang Global South sama Global North-nya ini belum kelihatan kan.
Ya, Bu.
Kesenjangan apa, ketimpangan apa yang terjadi, baru terus kamu masuk ke agendanya si Ken ini, bahwa Ken ini nanti akan mendorong negara-negara Global North untuk bayar ke Global South. Gitu. Dan disitulah letak distributive justice-nya. Sama yang tadi dia bilang ada restoratif justice, ada kompensasi yang diberikan. Gitu. Paham ya, Mel?
Iya, Bu. Saya
Ya,
catat.
mungkin saya cukupkan dulu sampai sini. Suara saya sudah habis. Nanti Meli langsung kerjakan ya. Jangan
Ya,
ditunda lagi. Saya akan kirim apa namanya recordingnya, Meli langsung kerjakan, langsung tulis itu yang Global South, Global North dulu ya.
Ya, Bu.
Ya, saya tutup ya.
Terima kasih banyak, Bu.
Ya, sama-sama. Ya, saya tutup ya.